The fourth is the print materials. If you're going to have a business card, a print piece, the book cover, your one sheet, your menu, your pricing options, it has to be first class. The people that work with you, number 5. Anyone who represents you, this is going to be huge for somebody. Anybody who works for you represents you. That is just not fair. So just give an example. Marshall works with me, and therefore Marshall represents me. I represent him. People say, why do you have everyone wear a shirt and tie? Because I want in my office, if you interact with anyone on my team, I want to set the standard of what I want our team to look like. Someone says, well, in your office, there's one guy you don't make him wear a tie. Why? Because he's awesome in every area all the time, and he's earned that right. I know he's going to dress sharp without a tie. A lot of people just dress awful if you don't mandate a uniform, right? So in your business, think about your uniform, or you as a speaker maybe, or a writer. I know 4 different speakers I can think of off the top of my head who dress a certain way on purpose. It's their brand. Think about Donald Trump. Always dresses the same every time, right? Blue suit, red tie, white shirt. I mean, very similar every time. Very, very similar. You have the power tie move going on. He's very, 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 very consistent in that look. When you think of Donald Trump, the hair's the same every time you think about that appearance. Also, think about Jeffrey Gitmer. It's Gittomer. He wrote a book about selling. It's called like the Little Black Book of Selling, and he has a little black book of networking. He's always wearing the same outfit. It's calming to people when they know that there's a consistency and an intentionality about what you're wearing. You want to set that right tonality, but you also don't want to hire anybody who's terrible. I used to hire people that were terrible and think, I'm just coaching them up. I remember the first time I got an email from a lady named Tara. Just crushed my soul. She goes, no offense, the guy that works who met us does not inspire confidence, and we're asking for a refund. So then I was like, well, what do you mean? She goes, he doesn't inspire confidence. And that's when it hit me that the people who work for me, those books I've read about this, it's not just hoo-ha. It really is a cultural thing. People don't want to buy from you if you don't inspire confidence. And the final thing is you want to have your overall experience. You want to be intentional about the overall experience. At Starbucks, they're very intentional about making sure there's lots of samples available from time to time. It smells great. The music is right. The decor is right. The people are polite. They say nice things to you. They name every beverage. It's the grande. What is it, Marshall? The tall, the grande, the Venti. I mean, they have names for everything, you know. The whole experience is like a third place. It's not work. It's not home. It's the third place. Disney, from the moment you walk in the gates, where you park, everything has a theme, has a smell, has an intentionality. Well, if the big companies are doing it, how come as small business owners we're not? Well, people ask, well, I would do that if I got, I guess I would probably do it too if I was big. People ask sometimes, well, where would you find the money to do that when you're small? I mean, you'd probably be easier when you're bigger. Well, the thing is, you got to do the things that the big guys do when you're small to ever become a big guy. So you've got to be very intentional about it. Hobby Lobby plays Christian music overhead to create the atmosphere they want. You got to think about the music that you want, the atmosphere that you want. If you have a sushi restaurant, there's a restaurant called In the Raw, and their music is very up-tempo, it's really neat decor, uplighting everywhere. It's dimly lit with uplighting, and it just feels kind of like a really futuristic California, East Coast, West Coast, kind of like a New York City fine dining experience. And when you eat there in Tulsa, you're like, wow, I feel like I'm in New York. I feel like I'm in California. It just feels like a world-class experience. And those are the kinds of things that we need to do if we're going to sell on a national level as it relates to branding. So have I covered it? Have I missing something there?
No, I think that covers all of the different elements. And so bottom line, you just have to be intentional about all of those things, because any area that you're not intentional is subject to somebody else creating their own expectations or their own kind of off the reservation decision.
And you can't drift to success. So, by default, we're all going to bomb. So we have to be intentional about success.
John, does that make sense? Do you have any questions about creating the branding with these different elements, or any questions about the importance of branding for the business or for what you're going to be doing?
I think this got it covered. Looks good.
Awesome. And what happens is when you have a fire hose of knowledge, like it can be, so distilling all these items into a checklist, and just every time you start a company or you build a product, just have a checklist, just print it out, just save it in your notes section and print it, or just type it in there. And just every time you open a business or you do any venture, just keep that checklist and then pull it out and go, are the smells locked down? Is the decor good? Is the music good? Are the print materials good? Are the HR selections good? Is the overall experience good? And I'll just tell you this, without a checklist, I used to miss major aspects of my overall experience. And we moved into this building, Marshall. Very few people were like, hey, I wonder what kind of music we're going to play overhead. Don't I every day say, though, don't I every single day? I'm like, music, where's it? All day. Like,
Without change.
I mean, it's part of the experience, and it creates a totally different atmosphere. It feels like almost depressing when you have 40 people working in absolute silence. But if you create a music atmosphere, it changes the whole atmosphere of the office. And so I'm very, very intentional about these things now. But make a checklist, implement it. Action is the real measure of intelligence.
All right, so Thrivers, thanks so much for tuning in about the importance of branding. And John, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks again.
Bang.